talk, by the way.
Thanks. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our weekly conversation where we grow together. The name of our conversation every week called Growth with Jen because we believe that every single day as a plant or as a tree, we always can grow better if we water ourselves with the water, and in this case the thoughts, the action, the belief, and the people around it. So today I bring in one of my very favorite people which I just met. The reason I'm saying that because we are both engineer. I am actually, I would say, like retired engineer, but Jonathan here in the house today, he's still working as an engineer, and I believe that the conversation is going to be really interesting because we will see and we will learn how does he approach the differences between us to embrace the growth by using that kind of engineering approach. So Jonathan, can you just say hi to our audience before we jump into our conversation?
Absolutely. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for having me on. I love what you're doing, and I think we need to have more programs like yours. So thank you again for having me on, and hello, everybody.
Hello. And yesterday, the topic, I believe that is also in my heart because I always see that we are not exactly the same. We, even though we are all like connected, we always urge to be better and we urge to be happy, to have joy, and to connect. But we actually can think differently and we can have different perspectives on the same thing. And the differences actually make us connect even better. And it's like the different colors of a big picture. So I really enjoyed what it is share about how you change the way you look at differences. So, Jonathan, can you share what actually changed you so dramatically? And so the people here can also join the journey of making a change. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, really, it started for me. Um, in 2014, I started working with American Airlines,
Mm.
and I was uh, working with them, and I was also training because I wanted to go to do my certifications to get into engineering. Now, when this happened, I had the neat opportunity to actually do some traveling. Um, I went to Vietnam. Actually, I went to Vietnam.
Oh, that's
Um, I
you.
I loved it. And and I
Where
went to
was that?
several countries. That was in 2019. Oh, sorry,
Okay.
2018. 2018. I went in
Wow.
2018. Yeah, it was.
The day I came
I
back Vietnam actually. So I was in the
it,
UK before, and I came back Vietnam on that period.
oh,
Yeah.
there you
So
go.
maybe
There you
we
go.
was in
Yeah,
the same plane.
yeah, absolutely. Um, and it was great for me because I got to just travel to different places, and I always made it a goal that I wanted to meet somebody new and learn something new in each place, because often when I was in a place, I was only in a place for a couple days at a time, so I didn't really have the time to kind of go and see all that I wanted to. So I
Mm-hmm.
kind of narrowed my my focus, and I wanted to focus on meeting someone new. So
Yeah.
so that's what I did, and little by little, it would just in the beginning it would be just me walking up to somebody randomly and talking to them, and then eventually became me like doing some research and reading up on somebody, um, and this went all the way up until 2000 early 2020, when obviously we had the pandemic, right? So we couldn't travel. Traveling stopped. um, and what I noticed was, that I started talking to people that lived around me, and I was noticing that I was living close to people that were just as different and just as, you know, polarizingly differently than myself. I was meeting people that were very different, very, very different in the way they see life, politics, uh, family, just all sorts of things, science,
Yep.
even. And I started seeing them, within a couple minutes drive of where I was. And 2020 was really interesting in so many ways because, here in the United States, we had a lot of division, and I wanted the same curiosity,
Mm.
the same curiosity that I had when I was traveling to these places. I wanted to use that same curiosity to try to talk to these people and learn, have a discussion with somebody who's different so that I can learn from them. And that's where my change came because I said, you know what? Um, I'm not a journalist. I'm not I'm not a leader. I'm not a politician. I'm none of those things. Um, but I'm going to use that to my advantage, and I want to be able to have discussions and conversations with the people that are different or the people that I disagree with, so that I can learn from them, not argue, but learn, so that we can learn how to better work together, but at the same time, also try to comprehend them to understand where they're coming from. And when I changed the way that I saw the people that were different than me, and when I changed from thinking that I couldn't get along with them, or thinking that they were just that we could never find something in common, when I changed that, that's when I started finding a reflection of myself in the people that I was talking to.
Wow. I really want people who are watching it now or later on hear you say, and I believe they hear you, and it can trigger our thoughts and trigger the memories or the time. If anyone watching here, that's think back about the time when you listen to someone after you saying something, and then the person that's like says a totally different thing, right? Probably you say like, "Oh, the place in the US is so nice," and other people are like, "No, no, no, no," and then like you probably see people see the same thing differently, or maybe there's this kind of like a group of people who talking. Some say like, "Oh, what are they doing?" The other one like, maybe they fighting. So the same simple thing, or maybe some kind of huge thing we see differently, and especially when we have an opinion and we share it out, other people say what they think, maybe we're gonna get offended. And especially when our ego is high, we always
Hmm.
think that we are right. And I just say like, wow, it's so beautiful because you use a keyword like curiosity, and it was so profound for me. Like last year, one of my teachers said, when you say that you are listening to people, you think it's great, but hold on a minute. Is this like the technique, or you actually want to learn about them? And you said it so beautifully that you use a curiosity to learn about people, you learn about the problems and learn why they think like that. So I think that is like, wow, it's like a paradigm shift, right? But how can we actually do that? Because I think as a human nature, in a way, we tend to protect what we think, and we tend to react, we tend to say it. Maybe sometimes we know that, oh yeah, let's me think about what they say, but we're gonna still need to argue like verbally. So how did you make that change? How was that thinking process?
That's a great question. That's a great question because what I what I had, or the feeling that I had, was very similar to the feeling that a lot of people have, right? We think that, oh, you know what? Maybe it's best if you stay over here and I stay over here, right? No need to talk, right? You just, but the change for me happened that I knew that I need to be I came to the realization that I need to be the change that I want to see. That
Ah,
people are inspired by other people.
okay.
People are inspired when somebody like them does something, right? So I wanted to inspire people and say, listen, I am absolutely no one. I hold, I'm not a journalist, no politician, but I think that we can approach conversation different. That's why I call the movement conversational activism,
Okay.
because activism is when we're fighting a wrong, right? When we're fighting a cause, when we want to correct something that's wrong. And that wrong in this case is division, right? And then conversation is when we sit down and we converse with someone. So I wanted to break the stigma. And people think when they hear the word activism, they think marching, holding signs, or protesting, and that's okay. That's okay. But I wanted to change that stigma, and I wanted people to think, hey, I can actually do social good. I can create social change by simply speaking and conversing with somebody who's different. And that's what I wanted to do. Like, I wanted to change that idea of people, um, and really turn it into something that can be as simple as talking to your neighbor, talking to your fellow students, to a leader. And when you do that to learn, you're actually changing the world. And that's what I want people to think and to realize, that changing the world, one of the first things you can do is by just simply having a conversation with somebody who's different.
Wow. That simple but actionable. And you said the thinking process to start the change is to actually take that kind of ownership that you if
Mm-hmm.
you want to see the changes somewhere, you had to start from yourself. And if you really want to make a change, like in the connection with others, like a whole with other people, then we need to talk to clear it out and to have this kind of understanding. What is the language that we use in the way we act, the way we feel, the way we give love, the way we give values? So we all have this kind of our own way of actually speak and also give, right? Like, let's say if I send like an apple, who understand what I try to intend? Maybe they assume, but because we all have that kind of our own way of perceive and give what we want to give. So having the first conversation as the first, you said like the door to make a change together, just powerful. And that makes me like think it's really powerful book. If I remember correctly, you can correct me if you also know the book, How to Tackle Difficult Conversation. Yeah, it's kind of like that, right? So the idea like sometimes having a conversation is not that easy. That's why a lot of people actually, if they want to break up, they text instead of having a conversation, like real
Mm-hmm.
conversation. Or maybe they wanna, silently go away. It's like avoidance is a worst long-term strategy that normally I call it. And having a conversation sound like simple, but doesn't mean that that's simple. If we scared of other people will say no or will judge us, and I think that's so common, we choose to avoid it, and that doesn't last sustainably in the long run. We still have it inside us. So how can we actually make that first move of having a conversation if that conversation is hard, or we assume it hard? Yeah.
Right, right, right. Well, I think the first step is it's the mindset. The first approach is mindset. So
Mm.
the first approach is, instead of thinking of the person that you're going to talk to as somebody who's different, approach them with curiosity, approach them to learn, approach them with the intent of learning. Because the first thing we have to do is change our mindset. And when we do that, we can actually listen more than talk. And we tell someone, hey, I want to learn from you. I want you to talk to me, to be able for me to learn from you. So
Mhm.
if I can, if we can sit down and I just want to listen to you. And what we ask them questions about them, about who they are, what 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 is happiness for them. We ask questions about them, not so much about what they think in, but we ask questions about them, and that's when we start to find the reflection of ourselves in them. And when we do that, all the awkwardness goes away. All the awkwardness goes away. Now, I know that that's very hard to do. Um, and sometimes, for a lot of people, it may be very hard and intimidating to approach someone. But we can take a first step by simply speaking to our neighbor, by simply talking to somebody, a family member, somebody who's close by. Because to a lot of people, that's going to be their most difficult conversation. But it can be done, and it's a small step, but at the same time, it's a huge step. Um, and me personally, I wanted to subject myself and speak to as many people as possible that were completely different than me, because I want people to understand, and I want people to be able, if I want people to be able to believe in this movement, I have to go and I have to be the one that subjects myself and the one that really
Yeah.
goes with those difficult, um, sometimes very um, sometimes very controversial conversations.
Yeah. It's like you're gonna need to make the move in that you want to make the movement, and you lead the move on. Later on, people start like involving by themselves, and if we don't involve it, we don't know when we call back that conversation, right? Even the hashtag drop because it may not agree what I'm saying. So it's like if you involve it, you know the difficulties like of each case, right? When you talk maybe with this group of people, researchers, it's different from talking to a group of investors or business people. So you probably can understand more of these problems and you can help other people out even better. So I like how you put it in the simple way, but it also like as you said, it can be like a great stone for a lot of people. And you said like we can start with somebody like let's say our neighbor.
Mhm,
Or in this kind of time, we have awesome resources. We can reach out to people, and literally we know each other from a group where we have same kind of interest and we have same passion of doing something to have conversation, even we not yet
mhm,
interacted in person. So I'm really grateful for that. And because you are an engineer and you're also working on your app or your project to really embrace that connection of people who have different thinking and different perspectives or they are just different. What would be your habit? Because I believe that from that goal, we will break it down and have a certain habit. And one of the habits you mentioned is to keep up with more conversation, right? But what else we like a habit is good habit for us to really learn to be patient, to listen to other people, and to be curious, learning about the other people, and genuinely about learning about them. So, what would be the habit that helps us out? Yeah.
mhm. Well, one of the first things I can think of is, and this one's very hard,
Oh
it's to
wow.
not react, not
Mm,
react. Many times when we watch the news or when we go on social media, the first thing we want to do is like, oh, when we like something, we go and we say something good. But if it's something that we don't like, Same thing. We can comment or we can get, even upset sometimes by simply just watching the news. The first thing you need to do is don't react. Train yourself by going to your Facebook or your Instagram. And when you see something that you don't like or something that someone said that you don't like, don't say anything. Don't say anything. That's hard. That's hard, but that's really important. Um, and then the other thing is, learn to read about people, learn about people. Like if you genuinely have that thirst to learn and that curiosity, then there's so many times that I approach somebody and I simply I have to do my homework first and I have to research on them. But the more I talk to somebody, the more I find I'm like, you know what, um I wanted to learn. You there's a lot of things that you may agree with, or that you may stand for, that I don't agree on, but there's one thing that I can. Let's talk about that. Let's focus on that. How can we better work together? And
Wow.
you know kind of like I mentioned, I'm, as an engineer, I'm trying to develop a program, a software where people can use to be able to put their problems or questions that they have, issues, problems, and then as a community be able to learn to work together, but not in a
Mm.
way where I give my opinion necessarily, but I'm just saying a solution. It's about the questions. It's not about the solutions necessarily. So you post a question, and people in the community can learn to work together in a way where we can't necessarily know who we are. I don't want the purpose is for you not to necessarily know who somebody is, to be able to work together with them. So how can we work together to answer questions, to solve problems, to work on issues, and not having who we are be something that gets in the way of that? So learning to work together.
I believe that today there are my favorite three habits. I want to call it in that way because I believe that when it comes to long-term development, if we can create habits, habits create the results. So we build the
Right.
habits before habits build us. So
Mm-hmm.
that's just kind of like coding, playing words, but it's like so true. Otherwise, we will let the randomness decide our life. But we say, okay, we want to hit it into that way, and we will decide the habits. So we build it, and the habits later on run automatically in the way because that is the power of our subconscious mind when it already learned over time. So I believe the first one you said we all can practice on when we kind of wrap up today is about being curious, right? Being curious
Mm-hmm.
and how to really develop that. Maybe start with what else I see from here, and like you said, start from not reacting right away. Always like give a pause. And I normally make a joke like I pause and I will get out of it and I will say like if I am myself in 20 years, how I gonna react, how gonna I respond? Or I normally like, oh, somebody loves Steve Jobs, right? If Steve Jobs in that case, what are you gonna do? This is like kind of give us another perspective, or maybe we say like if my mentor, my favorite one, if he's in this situation, what does he do? So we kind
Mm.
of like give ourselves more hats to wear on to see the thing. And that also lead to the second thing, right? If we can see things in different ways, the second habit, as you said, I call it a second one after the first one of looking at things in different perspectives by not reacting right away, but pause. The second one is to,
Pause.
yeah. Thank you. I was trying to grab up, and that comes from your sharing. The second thing, like you said, I would say the habit of really like start a conversation with somebody by saying like what is the thing about them that I don't know yet, or what is the thing that they like to do, or just kind of any kind of question that make us feel like we want to learn about that person more, or just kind of asking the why it, or maybe asking how, but in the way of to understand is a curious, right?
Hmm.
And that's it how you lead it to the third habit, like you said, like every day maybe you write down one person that we can talk with. For example, one of the people that I talk with today is you. So it's like writing down like, oh, so who are you gonna talk with today that maybe you don't know about them, but let's learn about him or her. So I believe that today I didn't even know that I could learn it from you, but I found like
Yeah.
that is that is really something that in 2021 I really tell myself that how can I use the curiosity to learn more about my team, learn more about the people that I work with, so I don't push the pressure on them as I push on myself, right? So it's like uh, okay, you can work crazily, but doesn't mean that you will use the same energy to think that other people are gonna work in the same pace like you, so they're gonna be great at that space. So to really be able to really work well like that, respect people clock, then we had to really, like you said, not react and pause and learn more about them and more conversation, deeper conversation. So
Yeah.
thank you so much. Could you give us like your favorite book or any kind of channel that people can tune in to surround themselves with more awesome stuff? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that one of my favorite books is A Curious Mind by Brian Grazer.
Oh.
I really love that book. Um, and really, one another thing, and maybe, even a habit is, I like to, maybe listen to a podcast or maybe, search online. Whenever you hear about someone who's different or something different or something that you don't know about, immediately look it up and immediately try to learn something about that. That's something else I do, honestly. Every time I hear something or someone I don't know, let me look it up. I look it up and I start reading and learning about them. Um, that's really, one of my favorite things to do. So, but yeah, A Curious Mind is definitely one of my favorite books because, um, he talks about having, because he's a filmmaker, right? He makes movies, but
Oh.
how meeting all these different people have helped him in his personal life, not just his professional life, and how he's used his curiosity as a superpower.
Mm.
So I definitely recommend that book for anybody. It is an amazing book.
Thank you. And it is so aligned with what you have shared from beginning until now. It's really the mindset that you have adopted, and I believe you have inspired people with the program that you are working on. And I think it comes with whatever you do every single day with the same approach of putting that curiosity out there to understand more about people. It is how we connect and work together well. So congratulations for your
Thank you.
breakthrough and your impact that you have created, and the beautiful recommendation on the book Curious Mind. Check it out, everyone, and I think you're a great example of that, a curious mind. And I'm just thankful that having you here today. So if you can share with people, how can people later on soon they can check out your work, like it's an app, right? How long does it take, when you're gonna come out? Yeah.
It's going to come out really soon, and it'll be available on the Apple and the Android store.
Okay.
But people can follow me. I think I use Instagram, so people can follow me there. Jonathan dot Rivera 17. Um,
Okay.
and people can follow me, and I'm trying to talk to universities, to businesses, to groups about this because I feel it's really important.
Mm-hmm. Lovely. So everyone, we have Jonathan here in the house today with the upcoming app gonna be available on Apple Store, and it's gonna be about how we embrace the differences between us, so we can grow together in a broader aspect. And thank you for being a great curious mind to join us, and cannot wait to see you in person and also your app. So everyone, check out Jonathan's Instagram and also Facebook and LinkedIn. So find a way to connect, and soon we'll catch up another day. So with that, have a wonderful week, everyone, and cannot wait to see you in the next episode. Maybe one day to bring Jonathan back with his app.
Thank you so much.